All right, good morning, everyone. So again, today is Friday towards the end of the week. We're at the end of the week towards the end of March now. So being Friday, we will be looking at the dollar index. We'll be looking at the US CAD and also a little bit into the Bitcoin and Ethereum as the cryptocurrencies, just doing a brief analysis of that. So with all that, I hope you're trading well, trading safe. We had seen the dollar come off a slight top last night. For those of you Traders Club members who are watching this live, welcome. And if you're watching this on YouTube, this is a recorded session. We are releasing this slightly later. If you have not already joined the Traders Club, make sure you join Traders Club. The link is in the comments below. With that said, as usual, any information shared in this video is not intended to be a trade recommendation. It is solely the opinion and views of myself. So please remember to do your own analysis prior to entering any trades. We will be sharing trade ideas, possible trade ideas, likelihoods of where the markets could be heading. So, different time frames, different risk rewards, different risk management strategies. Make sure you do your own analysis before you enter any trades. Looking at the news here on Forex Factory, today being the Friday 25th of March, not a lot of news to be released. We do have the UK retail sales number looking to go from a 1.9 to a 0.6%. So retail sales number for the UK looking to drop slightly. Possibly going to move prices a little bit, but not too significantly. But the focus is on the US CAD. So no CAD news, some US news to be released, but I don't think this will move prices too much. What could be heading into next week is that on Monday, not a lot of news for the CAD, following on with Tuesday. Again, not too much. Wednesday, we start with some news. The US ADP non-farm employment change looking at a 475. We might see a little bit of a drop in the employment numbers because we can't maintain that big number all the way up. And on Thursday, look at it, CAD GDP numbers month on month at a 0% previously. In March, it was a 0.6 drop to 0, looking like the CAD GDP might be dropping possibly into that negative territory, but I think it might stay at 0 or a slight bounce towards the 0.1 for the GDP number for the CAD. So that might be interesting in terms of how the US CAD will play out through the week into Thursday next week and into Friday next week. We do have the employment numbers, the US non-farm payrolls, 1st of April, non-farm payroll numbers for the US. Forecast and analysis of that will come next week. So with all that said, what we could anticipate for the US CAD is actually going to be quite interesting. But before that, looking at the dollar index here, when we last spoke about it in the analysis, I said it was going to come down, test that 98.46 level. It did that, bounced off. Last night, we were anticipating that it's going to bounce up further towards that 99 level. It didn't happen. So it didn't happen there. It actually came back down towards 98.45 again. At this point, I think that we'll see it sit at this level, especially today being Friday. We'll possibly see it crack down from this level a little bit, bounce at this support level a little bit before next week, where we might see it bounce back up again. So dollar index at this point, I think that we'll see it sit across, and into next week, we'll see that slight rebound back up. This actually makes it quite interesting again for the US CAD, because now looking at the way the US CAD has been performing, US CAD on H4 time frame here, just last night, during the Traders Club session, we were talking about it being at this 1.2570 level, anticipating whether it could bounce, right? We're looking at it on a daily time frame and dragging it down a little bit. We were saying that at that point, it could bounce back up. It didn't. It actually broke below that 1.2570 level and now heading towards the 1.25 level. As it heads towards the 1.25, we can see that in January this year, it actually bounced off at this point. It sat there. I'll zoom in a little bit. Right, it sat there, had a lot of volatility, tried to break lower and failed. Tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times before bouncing back up. What I'm looking at, and I was sharing this with the club members as well, is that we're possibly looking for it to test this 1.25 level, test and possibly reject this 1.25 for that big rebound back up. This could actually work out together with the CAD GDP numbers that we're anticipating towards the end of next week. If it does come out weak, if it does come out at a 0 or maybe even a negative number, we could see the US CAD or the CAD weaken against the dollar and see that bounce off from this point. So we might be looking at it bouncing off from this point. So what to expect for the CAD for now, back to the H4 time frame, is to see whether it's going to break, I'll zoom in a little bit, to see whether it's going to break below this 1.25, to track it towards this 1.25. I don't think there'd be a trade now because it is sitting at 1.2528, only about a 28 pip move towards the downside. Not a good trading opportunity at this point. I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, so it's easier to see. So not a great trading opportunity at this point, even if it does break lower, because we've seen that volatility below 1.25. The last time we spoke about it, or back in the 18th of March, we're looking for it to break past or to bounce off this 1.26. And that trade actually played out quite nicely towards our take profit level. Right now, I'm looking to see whether it can break this level. Short-term trade, something that you wouldn't want to set and forget, something that you want to closely manage a little bit. If you look to sell it down, right? No, actually, I don't think you should be selling it down, right? Because looking at what happened here in Jan, the lowest it can go is at this point. So if you're looking to sell it down, I would say that at below 1.25, about a 30 pip stop loss for a 30 pip take profit level, or 1:1 risk reward ratio towards the downside for the US CAD, just to be similar to what happened in January this year, right? So we're looking for that move towards the downside for the US CAD in this short-term period. What I'll actually be more interested in is into next week, whether we'll see the US CAD bounce back up. So I think that with the way the dollar has been moving, again, I'll show you the dollar index breaking lower, we could see the US CAD break lower a little bit, but anticipation is that this 98.40 level, 98.45 level is possibly going to be somewhere the dollar index is going to bounce around. So I think that you see a lot more opportunities to trade other pairs, such as the US yen, or even, you know, the Aussie dollar, the New Zealand dollar, maybe even the pound dollar towards the upside, rather than to try and catch the US CAD slightly towards the downside on this 1:1 risk reward ratio trade. Why I mentioned the Aussie dollar, just to show you a bit of a recap there. The Aussie dollar is tracking higher towards that 0.7540 level. We could see it come towards that resistance and possibly break higher. That could be something interesting there, together with the pound dollar. So we've seen the pound dollar come down, test, and possibly reject this 1.32 level. I think this trade idea that we were sharing before is still in the short list, and still in a watch list there. Look for it to break above that 1.3220 level you can look for that buying opportunity back up towards the 1.33. So I think a lot more opportunities in other pairs rather than the US CAD at this point. I think the US CAD, you might want to look at it on the slightly longer term time frame. Again, back to the US CAD, you might want to look at it on a slightly longer time frame. Look for it to test. And if it does reject this 1.25 towards the upside, we could see that as a more interesting, more profitable trade back up rather than trying to catch that small 30 pips move towards the downside. Could you be looking to sell the US CAD from now down all the way that 60 pip move? Possibly, but I think that we're going to see it sit at 1.25 unless we have bigger surprises come from the US dollar. I think that is going to be a little bit risky at this point, especially with a proper risk management. If you're looking to sell down from here, your stop loss will be about 40, 50 pips. Your take profit would be about 60 pips. So you're still looking at a 1:1 risk reward ratio towards the downside. Possible, but there's that support there that might make your trade, might make it a little bit tricky for your trade. So overall, wait and see for the US CAD. I think change your focus. Look at the other currency pairs instead. One other interesting one, I know I'm going across all the different pairs right now, but one other interesting one is the US yen. Just last night, we were talking about it trading towards the 122.50 level. It came right close to that before turning back down. I think that for the US yen, what we might be looking at now is for it to come back down. If it bounces off this 121 level, if it bounces off this 121 level, we might see that buying opportunity back up again. So all this is also dependent on how the dollar works. The yen, I think that we're going to see further weakening. This retracement, this correction right now could be because of the end of the week move. It's also likely to be because of Kuroda saying that he does not think that markets have lost faith in the yen. So a little bit of a positivity there, pushing it back down again. But I think that we might see that bounce off the 121 level back up, right? So quite a brief look at the yen pair, the US CAD, many other opportunities on the yen, the Aussie, the pound, and possibly even the euro dollar. With all that, I think when it comes to the weekend and with the way the dollar has been moving or is moving right now, I think that you might also have some opportunities on the cryptocurrencies. If you are trading crypto, just bear in mind that this is a highly volatile instrument. We see big moves on crypto in a very short period of time. At this point now, Bitcoin against the dollar sitting at 43,964. I think that, looking at the way it was performing in March, early March, so beginning of the month, came all the way up, hit that 44,560 level and turned straight back down, right? So look to see what's going to happen at this point. I think that this will be the deciding level. If it breaks above, then you can see that move towards 48. But I think this is a bit unlikely, right? We've seen it reject this level in Feb, early Feb, mid Feb, late Feb, or mid Feb there, and in March again. So I think the likelihood is for it to reject this 44,560 level and turn back down. So looking, just to give you an arrow there, looking for it to reject, for it to test. I think it will move up slightly further for it to test and reject this level towards the downside if we don't see any big surprises coming from the global uncertainties, right? So a repeat of what could happen there. In terms of trading, you could look to sell it down. But if you're a longer term investor, then wait it out, let it come all the way back down towards that 41,000 level before possibly looking for that buying opportunity. Or if it does test even lower, If it breaks that 41,000 level, then we can even see 38, about a 38,000 level for Bitcoin against the dollar. That said about Bitcoin, the next one we look at is Ethereum. With Ethereum, we've seen that move. It has a little bit more space up towards that 31.94 level. We might even see it as a 31.95 level. It's come close, rejected once in Feb, and then again in early Feb. I think that we can see that move slightly further towards the upside, before a decision point. I think that I'm a little bit more positive on Ethereum at this point. I think that we might see it move towards that 31.90 level and possibly even break slightly higher. So I think at this point, we might see this move back up towards this point, right? So with all that said, quite a few trade ideas, not on the US CAD, unfortunately. I think the trade ideas are occurring across the, oh, actually, I'll show you this as well. We're looking at Euro Yen. So Euro Yen, we were talking about this. It has broken above that 133.80 level, but it looks like because of that dollar weakness, because of the way yen has been pulling back down, if it does come back down off this 133.80 level, 83 level, if it breaks below, then again a counter trend trade following, setting up at this point. You know, you could look to sell it down, but it needs to break down from this support level. So a lot of other trade opportunities across the board, rather than just the CAD at this point. I think that, you know, towards the end of the week today, don't try and force any trades out. I think that we might see better setups into next week. At this point, keep your trades a bit more short term, very well managed. Look to close out your trades before the end of the week and then set up for next week. I think we'll see bigger moves into next week. With that said, trade safe, trade well. Take care now. Bye-bye.